Good morning, everybody. Aaron here from Honda Pilot Overland. Today is the day that I'm going to get started on my head gasket replacement project. It feels like it's good timing because the engine was running a little rough today, so I think either the leak in the head gasket's starting to wear on it, or I've kind of suspected maybe my valves might be kind of in bad shape. I haven't done any valve adjustments since I bought the car. So it's gone, as far as I know, 265,000 miles without a valve adjustment. So who knows what we're gonna find in there as far as that goes. But I'm gonna show you the parts that I bought. I've basically I've bought the parts to have the fastest DIY repair, which means I'm not replacing the motor. For the money I spent, I probably could have replaced the motor, but it would have taken longer, and it's summertime and I've got different projects, camping trips and etc. things to get going on. So I bought two refurbished heads. So the valves and the cams, everything's in in a lot better shape than what I've got. These will help me cut down repair time because I won't have to clean my existing heads or wait on a shop to resurface them. You gotta get new head bolts when you replace the heads. Always good to have a repair manual. I actually have several resources for this repair today that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using some YouTube videos. I believe it was one of the big name stores, AutoZone or something. I think it was AutoZone had a repair manual for this engine repair as well. I've got my head gasket kit here with all the gaskets necessary to replace the head gasket. I've got my brand new ASIN timing belt kit. It's a little early for me, but while I'm all in there and I have it all apart, I may as well replace it. So I'm gonna try to record with this GoPro up top. I'm gonna record the whole repair. I might post like either a stop action or just like a long format video and a shorter condensed video. This camera hopefully will help me as well in case I need to remember where something goes. I've already degreased the engine. I was really impressed with how clean it got. I know it looks kind of dirty still, but compared to what it was, it's significantly cleaner. So yeah, I'm gonna get started. The goal today is just to start breaking things down in logical components. So I'm going to start over here with the intake. I'm going to take the radiator and condenser fans out. I'm going to drain the coolant, start working on removing all the coolant passage hoses. Should be a fun project. Hopefully we don't run into any problems. I've kind of self-identified that the exhaust bolts or nuts are probably going to be where I imagine I'd have the most trouble. But I PB blastered them yesterday, and I'm going to continue doing that right now. The back ones are interesting to reach, but I'm just going to take this repair nice and easy, stretch it out over probably over a week. Depending how fast things go today, but probably over a week. Alright, so I kind of started on this project and I realized that to start with, what I'm taking apart might be a little bit kind of erratic, but basically draining the coolant first. Once I drain the coolant, I'm going to take off the big radiator hoses here, try to free up some space, and again get these fans out of here. There's my custom cold air intake here. So it turns out on the front, you can still get enough wiggle room, I think, to get these radiator fans out of here. I just had to take off my front bumper hitch and loosen the bolts holding on this steering rack cooler. We're starting to make some progress here. I was able to squeak those fans both up out the top here. Now I've got to take off the radiator, I think is the next thing I'm going to hit. Wow, those exhaust bolts on the front side are looking a lot more accessible already, so that's good. After I get the alternator off, I'm going to start drilling down on this side, taking stuff off. Alright, so the coolant passage is out now, and I'm seeing all kinds of dirt that was hidden underneath the passages and different things that I couldn't really get to, but I'm just gonna have to do my best to keep everything clean, I think. Okay, we're starting to drill down into the motor here. So I took the manifold cover off. The bolt sequence in this book was a little off, but I just roughly followed it, starting in the middle, heading out. There were a couple more bolts on my cover, I guess just because it's a little newer. And then on the inside, to get this intake manifold off, just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one, it was correct. So we're about to pull this out right now. The paint on my valve covers is really not doing well. I couldn't believe how light that intake manifold was. All these pieces are just crazy light. Now that I have the motor taken down this far, I'm going to start switching gears here a little bit. I'm going to take off the timing belt covers and start with the procedure as if you were replacing the timing belt. So I'm going to take the covers off, I'm going to take the spark plugs out, I'm going to get the motor set at top dead center. Then I got to figure out these fuel rails and different wires that are on top. Alright, as I go in this project, I realize that I'm pretty terrible at making how-to videos. So the crank pulley is down at the bottom. It's got an infamous 19mm crank pulley bolt. And basically, you use this tool to hold the pulley still, and then you stick a 19mm socket with your breaker bar in the middle. My impact did not budget, but using this method moved it pretty easily. It looked like from my research there is a super thick walled 19mm socket that people put on an impact gun that can really help with this. I have already done one timing belt on this vehicle, and I torqued it down myself. So I was pretty confident I'd be able to get it off. I knew that there wasn't any Loctite or anything like that in it. And yeah, so it came off. I got all kinds of sludge and mud. I tried to degrease it, but it's pretty messy down here on the timing belt cover. So I'm going to be fighting through that mud. But right now I'm taking this tensioner pulley off, and that'll allow me to take the rest of the timing belt cover off. And yeah, so I'm going to do my best to kind of show you each, step as I go. That being said, I apologize. I'm just not good at these how-to videos, and I don't just wing it. I do research, but I definitely don't know that my steps are in the proper order all the time. So hopefully you guys can get something from this. If anything, maybe I can prove that it's possible to do at home in your driveway. All right, it's weekend number 2. I've got off Friday through Sunday. Hoping to make some good work here today. So basically what I'm working on right now is I'm taking off the engine mount right here on the side. To do that, got a block of wood supporting the oil pan. Once I get this off, I'll be able to start taking apart taking off the timing belt basically. Once I get the timing belt off, I can start taking off the heads. I've got the timing belt off now, and I transferred my marks that I made over to the new timing belt, and actually gotten the first valve cover off, and I'm working on loosening up the head bolts here. I found these really cool, a really good set of instructions over on AutoZone. If you make an account, program in your vehicle, you can actually find repair manuals for your vehicle. And I just printed off, but basically it's got the torque order, and it's got all the instructions, lots of good schematics. So I'd highly recommend checking out AutoZone's repair manual section. With this breaker bar, it hasn't been too bad. The instructions say to just go a little at a time, a third of a turn, in the appropriate sequence here. Another thing I got off is I got off the catalytic converter bolts. You have to undo the 3 at the flange underneath right here, and then 4 up top. I've been soaking those in WD-40. I only had a little trouble with one of the rusted ones down below, but I was able to take a 13mm socket and hammer it on, get it off. So far so good. I'm hoping once I get this head off and the other head off that the project will start moving a little bit more quickly, because hopefully I won't have to fear breaking things as long as I torque everything back to the appropriate amount. So yeah, we're starting to turn the tide here. I'd say that the last real question, in my opinion, would be the back catalytic converter, but I'm working on it. All right, we got a big moment happening here. I believe my first original head is ready to come out. Oh. Note to oneself, coolant will come out when you lift the head. It's good to know. Probably should have been smarter than that. I knew that oil was going to come out of there too, now that I think about it, but oh well. Just making a bit of a mess, but we'll clean it up. Another big question I had was, how clean will this gasket come off the head? Or the block, I mean. It's coming up pretty clean, that's good. Take out these guide pins. So I just got the head off, and I realized that I have a major setback here. So I ordered the head 250 or 2548 BR, 2548 BL. The R is for the right, L is for the left, and come to find out that my R, remanufactured R and L left, but both are set up to face the same way. So someone sent me either the wrong head or it's facing the wrong way. And this really sucks because I have 2 days ahead of me, which is the perfect amount of time to get this back together. And now I'm sitting here with the wrong parts, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do to fix it. I'm trying to research if the person who assembled one of these heads is maybe assembled wrong. Trying to figure out if maybe I just need to switch the camshaft around. But boy, that's not what I wanted, that is for sure. I really don't like this one where someone engraved R on top of it. But I'll keep you guys posted on what I find out here. Alright, I've come up with a game plan. I don't know if it's the best game plan, but
Basically, I found out how to figure out which head is which on the motor. If you're standing on a motor that's traverse to the car, you stand on the back side of the motor, and the one on the right's the right, and the one on the left's the left. So this one from that I purchased from O'Reilly Auto Parts must have been assembled wrong. This keyed camshaft needs to be on this side. As I inspect the heads and just kind of look at everything, it looks like all I need to do is switch these two plugs onto this side. Which I guess at this point will just be one plug. I'll need to go look at my other head. But basically, I'm going to switch the camshaft out of that head into this head. I don't know if the shafts are different or not. I don't know if it literally just got installed on the wrong side, if the person who remanufactured did that. But just to be safe, I'm going to take the camshaft out of my old one and put it into this new one, facing the correct direction. For best I can tell, looking at these engine or these pieces here, I don't think there's any difference in them as far as, you know, I think that these plugs and this camshaft are the only difference I could see. So I'm gonna roll with that. Could be a costly mistake, but we will see. I also need to transfer all the studs that are in this old head. So the exhaust studs I need to get out, and I need to transfer this case or the timing belt kind of cover here, this little mount, these studs. So I'm going to work on that. As far as the studs go, I'm just going to thread on 2 nuts, and the first nut will keep the second nut from coming off, and I'll wrench on the second nut to get those studs to come out, and do the same thing to install it on the other side. So basically I'm just going to use this head to kind of match that head. We'll see if it works. Here's the 2-nut method for removing studs from your head. You thread on 1 nut that's appropriately sized, and you get it just far enough that the next nut can bite onto those threads. You take 2 wrenches, in this case they're 2 12mm wrenches, tighten the front one and move towards the direction of loosening on the back one, and you just hold the one that's tightening and wrench a little harder on the one that is you know, gonna spin the right direction to loosen the stud. And this one's a little bit more stuck than the rest, but I'm sure we can get it here. I think my threads on the bottom, or the tip of this one, were not very good, so I'm going to thread this thing on a little farther. See if we can get a good purchase with this one. This particular stud's not looking so hot right now. finally got it to move. Hopefully this stud holds in there to hold on the exhaust manifold. Now, once you get it a little bit loose, like that, I found that the end pieces on tight enough that you can actually use your little impact, get it on the rest of the way. Then we come over to the new head, start threading it in by hand, make sure everything's going in well. And we can take it here. So you don't have to thread these in very hard, just get it to where the non-threaded portion kind of butts up. Then you take your other 12mm, just hold that back nut, and rip off the front one, and then you can rip off the second one too normally. And then repeat. All right, another day. I've got all the studs transferred over to the left head, and I'm working on getting the exhaust studs out the back of this head. It's proving to be probably the toughest thing I've done so far. The bottom, so there's 4 exhaust studs. The bottom one on this left side here, you can't get a socket to it because of the heat shield or whatever, the flange. And so now I'm relegated to sitting almost in my engine bay with the box end of this 12mm wrench, going I don't know, quarter turn at a time. It's pretty grueling. On top of all that, the exhaust studs are pretty tight back there, or at least they feel tight because you just can't get a lot of leverage. But thankfully it is turning. I did get it to budge. Once I get that done, I'm gonna suspend the wire harness out of the way, and I'll be moving on to removing the last head. Then I'll transfer all the studs and stuff to my reman over there, and then we will be cleaning and prepping to start putting things back together, which is a big moment in this build, to start finally putting stuff back. Alrighty, I got everything transferred over onto the second remanufactured head. I think to get the head in a little bit more easily, I'm going to probably shorten these bottom studs a little bit. These bottom ones, the way it's angled, it's hard to get enough clearance between the catalytic converter and the stud. I was able to just get it out. I think I'm going to cut the tapered portion off before I reinstall it, just to make sure it goes on a little bit more smooth. Now that the heads are both off is a really good opportunity to do the water pump, because just right up here on the top I've already got the tensioner pulley and the idler pulley off, and I'm about to crack off the water pump here. And then from there, this will be the last thing I'm taking off. Everything else will be, from here out, will be me putting stuff back on. So we'll see what kind of trouble we have. The thing I would say I'm the most nervous about currently is getting the head that's closer to the firewall, getting it to sit down nice and easy without any interference on the head gasket. Seems like it's gonna be a little tough. I've made really good progress. I'm torquing down the second head. I can't wait to get it torqued and then get the timing belt put on so I can do the valve adjustment. From there, it'll just be a matter of getting everything put back on, and hopefully not getting ahead of myself and putting something on that needs to be removed. I did want to give one tip that helped me out. In a lot of people's instructions, they don't mention anything about cleaning out the bolt holes for the head bolts. I don't know if it's necessary or not, but I did just happen upon someone saying to do it. So I went ahead and designed this tube tip for my little shop vac.
And I did get a lot of oil and coolant fluid out of the bolt holes, so I would definitely recommend doing that. Alright, serious progress has been made. I've got the valves all adjusted, and from here I'm hoping that I have pretty much smooth sailing. I just need to put a bunch of the regular stuff back together. I wish I could have gotten new timing covers or had more time to prep them, but Eleni and I scraped off the paint to the best of our ability, all the chipping paint, and yeah, we degreased the top of them. But anyways, the valve covers are on, and I think I'm going to call it a night tonight, but we're making progress. It's starting to go back together now. Finally starting to look more like a motor here. Got the water passage put on. Got everything on the left side of the motor. Timing belt cover. Got the crank bolt torqued. Tensioner pulley back on. Alternator back on. So now I'm going to start working on the intake headers. Getting the fuel lines back in. And we'll start getting closer and closer to a startup here. Alright, so I've kept you guys in the dark a little bit. I apologize. I just really wanted to get this project done. I've spent a total of 6 full days and maybe like 1 partial day working on this project. And I got everything put back together. From the last place that I saw you, basically I just followed my way from left to right and put everything back where it belongs. One of the really cool things about living in modern age 2021 is that if you have any questions, you can look up the part schematics pretty easy, diagrams. But yeah, I've just filled the engine up with coolant, and I am just about ready for the first startup. And needless to say, I'm really nervous about it, so wish me luck here. Both fans are running, that's good. I'm gonna prime the motor probably 3 or 4 times just to make sure that the fuel is primed. I'm also gonna check for fuel leaks while I'm doing it. I don't see any fuel leaks or smell any. So after the next cycle, I think it's time. Alright, so I'm bleeding the pilot now, burping it. I'm actually doing a wash right now. But as you can see, there are not any bubbles in the radiator, which is awesome. I know it doesn't sound super quiet. That could have to do with the cam that I had to put in there from my old head. That being said, it's running and it's not leaking, so that makes me really happy. So I'm gonna finish this wash, or the radiator rinse, and then I'll fill it up with coolant and move on to some other projects that I have. Stay tuned on the channel. I'm gonna have a announcement of our upcoming trip coming soon.